Society loves to display statues of visionaries long after they are gone, yet it rarely welcomes them while they live. This paradox defines the struggle of free thinkers. From classrooms to boardrooms, independent minds often face suspicion, dismissal, or even hostility. The world praises creativity on posters and in speeches, but when someone truly dares to think beyond the script, the response is rejection. Why does a culture that celebrates Einstein and Galileo discourage the very same spirit in its own citizens today? The answer lies in psychology, culture, and the hidden mechanics of power. Free thinkers challenge comfort zones, disrupt control, and reveal truths most would rather keep buried. That is why they are celebrated in history books, but silenced in real life. In the chapters ahead, we uncover the exact reasons society resists them, and why rejection is often the first sign of greatness. Human beings are wired to seek belonging. From the earliest tribes to modern nations, survival often depended on moving as a group rather than standing alone. Conformity provided stability, ensured cooperation, and reduced conflict within the collective. By mirroring the behavior of those around us, we avoided punishment, gained acceptance, and strengthened social bonds. Society values this predictability because it makes governing easier and daily life less uncertain. Psychologically, conformity provides safety. When we fit in, we feel protected from the pain of rejection. It is easier to echo the majority's opinion than risk isolation. Schools reward obedience, workplaces praise team players, and communities label outsiders as threats. The more uniform a group appears, the more secure its members feel. Yet this comfort comes at a price. Conformity prevents risk, innovation, and critical thought. While it offers security, it also quietly breeds stagnation, mediocrity, and dependence. If conformity feels like safety, then difference feels like danger. Human psychology is quick to divide the world into us and them, rewarding similarity while punishing deviation. This instinct, rooted in survival, once helped tribes protect themselves from outsiders who might bring harm. Yet in modern society, the same reflex works against progress. A person who questions traditions, challenges authority, or refuses to follow unwritten rules is often branded as difficult, arrogant, or even dangerous. History offers countless examples. Socrates was sentenced to death for corrupting the youth of Athens. Galileo was condemned for daring to suggest the earth was not the center of the universe. And countless reformers were silenced for exposing uncomfortable truths. The psychology of otherness explains why difference provokes hostility. Anything unfamiliar triggers fear, and fear leads to rejection. Thus, while conformity promises comfort, difference sparks suspicion. For the free thinker, this means every act of independence carries a cost. The very qualities that could advance society make them vulnerable to exile, ridicule, or attack. Authority thrives not on freedom of thought, but on obedience. For rulers, institutions, and even corporate leaders, conformity guarantees order, while critical questioning threatens to unravel control. When people stop asking why, systems run smoothly. But when individuals challenge authority, they expose flaws, contradictions, and injustices that those in power would rather conceal. Machiavelli understood this dynamic well. He argued that rulers must manage perception, maintain loyalty through fear or reward, and silence voices that weaken their authority. Independent thought becomes dangerous because it cannot be easily predicted or controlled. A free thinker disrupts the hierarchy by showing that obedience is a choice, not a natural law. History is filled with examples of systems crushing dissent, be it monarchies exiling reformers, regimes censoring writers, or organizations punishing whistleblowers. Institutions operate with a vested interest in preserving stability, even at the expense of truth. Thus, rejection of free thinkers is not just personal, it is systemic. The machinery of power resists them because they represent unpredictability, and unpredictability is the enemy of control. For most people, the fear of being cast out is stronger than the fear of failure, and in extreme cases, even stronger than the fear of death. Human survival has always depended on belonging to a group, and exclusion once meant vulnerability to hunger, predators, or enemies. Though society has evolved, the mind still equates rejection with danger. This is why conformity feels safe and why deviation feels unbearable. Society weaponizes this instinct, using rejection as a silent punishment for those who think differently. Free thinkers often walk a lonely path, not because their ideas lack value, but because others fear the cost of standing beside them. Rejection, then, is less about truth and more about survival. People cling to the group even when the group is wrong, while those who resist risk exile. For the independent mind, Isolation becomes both a burden and a badge. Morality is often less about truth and more about control. Throughout history, societies have weaponized the idea of right and wrong to silence voices that disrupt order. When a free thinker questions traditions, challenges authority, or exposes hidden corruption, they are not merely debated, they are branded immoral. This labeling serves as a warning to others. Do not follow, do not listen, do not question. Virtue signaling strengthens this mechanism. By loudly condemning dissenters as corrupt, dangerous, or offensive, society disguises fear as righteousness. The real threat is not immorality, but the discomfort of facing change. Galileo was accused of heresy not because he lied, but because his truth endangered the Church's authority. Thus, morality becomes a mask. What is called immoral often threatens existing power structures, while what is labeled good often protects them. For free thinkers, rejection is rarely about ethics, it is about control. History is filled with free thinkers who were condemned in their time yet honored later. Socrates was sentenced to death for corrupting the youth of Athens, though today he is remembered as a father of philosophy. Galileo was forced to recant his discoveries under threat of torture, but his vision of the universe became the foundation of modern science. Rosa Parks, by refusing to give up her seat, was treated as a criminal. Yet her quiet defiance sparked a movement that reshaped history. Whistleblowers in the modern age, from corporate truth-tellers to political dissidents, often face exile, lawsuits, or imprisonment. Yet years later, their courage is seen as heroic. These stories prove that rejection is not the measure of falsehood. Instead, it often signals that someone has spoken a truth society is not yet ready to hear. Vindication arrives, but only after the pain of exile. Not all rejection comes from systems of power. Much of it arises from the insecurities of individuals. Freethinkers often reveal possibilities that others never dared to imagine. Their ideas highlight what is lacking in ordinary lives, forcing people to confront their own limitations. Instead of facing that discomfort, many choose the easier path, tearing down the one who dares to rise above. This is the psychology of envy. When someone challenges the status quo with brilliance, it creates cognitive dissonance. People admire the achievement but resent the reminder of their own stagnation. Rather than admit inadequacy, they project hostility onto the innovator. It is less painful to dismiss a visionary as arrogant, delusional, or reckless than to question one's own potential. Thus, rejection becomes personal. It is not about safety or stability, but about fragile egos defending themselves. Behind many acts of hostility lies a quiet insecurity, hidden beneath loud condemnation. Rejection may be inevitable, but survival is possible. The first strategy is emotional resilience, accepting that criticism and isolation are not signs of failure, but the natural cost of originality. Freethinkers must learn to stand firm without allowing bitterness to consume them. Second, alliances matter. Even the boldest voices find strength in supportive circles, whether through fellow visionaries, mentors, or communities that value independence. A single voice can be silenced, but a network creates protection. Third, influence does not always need to be direct. Subtlety, planting ideas gradually, using stories or disguising truths in acceptable forms, can allow new concepts to spread without immediate backlash. Protecting one's reputation also serves as a shield. When credibility is intact, attacks lose force. Finally, balance is key. Radical thought should be paired with patience and strategy. By mastering when to speak loudly and when to act quietly, freethinkers transform rejection from a crushing blow into a survivable trial. Society cannot evolve without free thinkers, yet it instinctively resists them. This paradox defines human progress. Those who challenge the present are often punished, only to be celebrated later as visionaries. What feels like rejection today is often the seed of tomorrow's admiration. History makes this truth undeniable. The very voices once silenced, Socrates, Galileo, Rosa Parks, are now remembered as symbols of courage and transformation. Their struggles prove that rejection is not evidence of weakness, but a reflection of the discomfort truth creates. Society defends its comfort zones fiercely, but it is that friction which sparks change. For anyone who dares to think differently, the lesson is clear. Rejection is not the end. It is the mark of significance. To be opposed is to be noticed, and to be noticed is to matter. What society fears today, it often praises tomorrow. The freethinkers' burden is heavy, but their legacy endures.